and welcome to Black Girls Watch. This is Black Girls Watch, where we give a Black girl perspective to all things TV, film, and pop culture. I'm Renetta Renee.
I'm Shamira.
Yes, and without further ado, let's get into our Black Girl Watch of this episode. What are we watching, Shamira? Look at the backdrop. Where we at?
Dun, 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 dun.
We in Gotham City. Oh yeah. Throwback, snaps to seal, snaps to seal. No, we are reviewing The Batman. It's coming out. I'm excited about it. We got to see it a little bit early, so I'm so excited to give you guys our review, what we think about it, and what everybody thinking. Like, is it better? I mean, is it better than The Dark Knight? I mean, is it trash? Is it great?
That's the question, though. That's
the question. So listen, before we go further, make sure you guys like, share, subscribe to our channel. Again, we're going to be coming here with a lot of videos, deep diving into, new things coming out, old favorites. So definitely make sure you stay up with us. But listen, Shamira, let's just get into it. So what did you think? What do you think real quick?
Let's let the people know real quick. So real quick, we're going to give you a quick review without spoilers, and then we're going to do a deep dive with spoilers. So we will let you know where to stop watching the video and leave if you haven't yet seen it. So for those that haven't seen it yet, let's get into the review.
Yes. So this is a non-spoiler zone. This is no spoiler zone, okay?
No spoiler
All right,
zone.
so Shamira. So listen, what does everybody want to know? First things first, should they go see it? Yes or no?
I'd say absolutely. Yes, you should go see The Batman. Absolutely, 100% hands down, go see it. Point blank. If that's all you wanted to know, you good. Go see it. Bye.
Go see it. Get off the video. Go see it. It's done. Shamira, is it better than The Dark Knight? I mean, what do you think? Like where does it fall? Where does it fall as far as like in the Batman?
It's
universe?
Tough because I think they're two very different movies.
I agree.
But like, I don't know. What did you think? Because they're two very different movies for me.
All right. So for me, it's two different movies, but at the same time, I feel like it was the movie, I was kind of blown away at how good it was. I didn't think it was going to be so good. So I think it's I'm still undecided, but I think it's at least as good as The Dark Knight.
Oh, for sure.
Whether it's better than, we might have to do some deep diving and really figure out, where it falls. But to me, it's at least as good. You know what I'm saying? For different reasons, though. That's why it's hard. It's just as good for different reasons.
Exactly. I 100% agree with that. It's at least as good as The Dark Knight. I feel like even if you're not a Batman fan, so one of the things I was trying to figure out is like, is this a standalone film that like somebody who's not into the Batman could go watch? Like, would my mom be able to sit down and watch this with no knowledge of the universe and enjoy it? And I think so. I do think that it is a movie that can stand alone on its own. I do think that the ways in which the characters were utilized, of course, really adds to the experience of watching it and everything. But I do think that on its own, it's a movie that anybody could go watch. That's what I think.
Facts. All right, what about Robert Pattinson? Because everybody want to know. That's everybody's big question. How he do as Batman? I was skeptical. I really was, but he made me a believer by the end. He made me a believer. I mean, we're going to get into that more later on the spoiler portion of this video, but I don't know. He made me a believer. Like, I don't think he I think he understood the assignment and did what needed to be done. What you think? I
think that honestly, the absolute best way to put it, he understood the assignment because he wasn't trying to recreate anybody else's Batman. He's not going to be Chris Nolan's Batman. He's not going to be Michael Keaton. He was doing his own thing, which I could see why some people who are very into the Batman lore, I could see where they might take issue with it. But for me, I really enjoyed his take on Batman, for me personally, especially from an acting standpoint. A lot of his choices that he made, it was like he understood the assignment is the perfect way to put it, I think. So I would say, yes, go see the movie. And yes, I like Robert Pattinson's Batman. I love his choices. Yes.
Absolutely. So I agree. You heard it here. Black Girls Watch, we say go see the movie. Go see the movie and come back here. Watch our spoiler portion, and then also jump in the comments and let us know what you thought, what your idea, just how you initially felt about the movie, your first responses, what have you, because I'm excited. I'm excited to deep dive into it. I'm excited. So, listen.
So right here, we're going to tell you, this is the point where you should turn back. If you have not yet watched this movie, this is your spoiler alert. That sounds like a cat, but it's meant to be a siren. Spoiler alert, if you have not yet seen the movie, we've told you, you should go see it. Now we're going to deep dive into why, using specifics. If you have not seen the movie, it probably will be spoiled for you in this portion. We are doing a deep dive, okay? A quick deep dive, but a deep dive. We're going to get into it.
That's right. Spoiler zone ahead. We are now entering the spoiler zone. Y'all going? Are they going?
I hope they're going.
They're going. Okay. Let's get into it. Sis. Okay, so first and foremost, so we got to see the movie just a little teeny bit early. Shamira, what was your experience? Like, did you go see it by yourself? You go see it with somebody? Like, what was your overall Batman experience?
I did actually go see it by myself, which I can't remember the last time I've actually seen an opening night big superhero movie on my own. So for me, I was a little lonely. I was a little bit missing people because there was nobody to talk to hype it up beforehand. There was nobody to nudge during the movie, So I was a little bit lonely, but I did enjoy my experience. I saw it in IMAX. So we should also say we got to see, we went to the Investor Connect screening. So, and it turns out Ronetta and I had very different experiences. So we're in two different cities. She saw it in Baltimore. Yep. I saw it in LA at Universal City Walk. I went to see it in IMAX here, but my experience was much different than Ronetta. So
so I saw it with my brother. We did the Investor Connect thing, so it was really cool. We got to see it a couple days early. And it was super dope because we did get a little bit of memorabilia. They gave us a comic book, which I'm super hyped about. And it's actually Batman: The Long Halloween, which apparently a lot of the movie was kind of a lot of the movie was inspired by this particular one. And I didn't know The Dark Knight was inspired by some portions in that as well. I heard somebody say. And we got to see it in the Dolby IMAX cinema. So the seats was moving. It was crazy. I feel like it was a dope all around experience. I feel like I don't understand how I was seeing the movies other ways, but now I understand why my ticket cost so much too. So
I was low-key a little bit jealous. When she said her seats were moving and she got a comic book and stuff, I was like, nobody gave me anything. My seats didn't do anything. The man next to me sneezed, a couple of times when there was an explosion. So that was almost like a Dolby experience, but not quite. So
it was dope. I'm sheep moving. I look over at my brother you see, okay. And then, you know how they had a recliner seats? These recline up, back. They had some advanced recline situation on them too. So I was at one point, you know how they recline back? You can actually recline up. So your feet are elevated, but you still close to the screen. So I was
my feet didn't even recline. I'm not kidding you. I'm not kidding. Because I also when it was almost sold out when I got my ticket. So I had to sit farther up, which I was it shouldn't be that bad, even though it's IMAX. And it was a bit of an adjustment. But at one point I was I'll just recline.
I know.
Yeah, no reclining seats. So, but I will say that the experience of the movie itself made up for any lack of anything like that.
Fair enough. Okay, so all right, Shamira. So what's like your experience with like just Batman in general? Like, I know you're a big, comic book head. Like, what's the appropriate term for people in a comic book? What is the appropriate term?
I feel like most comic book people are called nerds. I don't know that I would say I'm myself a comic book nerd, because I feel like nerd implies that you have such a strong knowledge of it. And I feel like I'm more like
an enthusiast.
What was it?
Comic book enthusiast.
Yes, comic book enthusiast. Yes. So that's the thing. Like, I didn't really read too many Batman comics. Like, let me rephrase that. As a kid or anything, as an adult, I've read a lot of DC comics, but there were some Batman, but it was usually more Justice League. I didn't read a lot of the standalone graphic novels, so I kind of went into this blind as far as what I was expecting for like reference points. You know what I mean? Right. Batman lore kind of thing.
Got you. Okay.
What about you? Okay. Because what was your like experience with Batman growing up? Did you watch the original movies at all, like as a kid? Like
I remember being like having seen them. What stands out to me, obviously, is I lost my train of thought. One, the animated series. Like, I used to love the animated series. Oh, and Jim Carrey. Like, I just had a Jim Carrey brain blip. Like, I was like, wait, how can I know? No way. So yeah, Jim Carrey as a Riddler was like, I like, even if I don't remember anything else from that movie, I remember being blown away because I'm like a diehard fan of Jim Carrey. Even as a young kid, I've always been in a sketch comedy and stuff like that. So like, even when I wasn't supposed to be watching any of these things, I was watching all these things. So for me, I would say my background, my Batman kind of like background is going to be definitely the animated series, which I remember watching as a kid. I remember definitely, I've seen, like, I know like the big parts of these Batman movies, right? So the big, the Jokers, and, I've been exposed to them, but I didn't really start going to see like, once they were like these big blockbusters, I pretty much seen like, I think I've seen them all in theaters for the most part. Like, as far as I can remember, I've seen like all the like the newish, generations and incarnations, like the Christian Bale generation, like I've seen all of these in the theaters. You know what I'm saying? So
I love that you watched the animated series, because I was gonna ask you that, and honestly, I wasn't sure if you had. And this is why me and Renetta are friends, because this is also what I love about Renetta, is that low key we be finding out things about, because we met as adults, so we be finding out things as like that we as kids had in common as well. So I love imagining like little Ronetta in Baltimore coming home after school and watching the animated series, while little Shamira is in Philly, like watching the animated series. I love that. Absolutely love that. Like, yeah. So I also watched the animated series. For me, one of my favorite Batman movies was Batman Returns. So out of all the originals, I do love Jim Carrey as well. The movie wasn't as great, but Batman Returns, I just want to say, has always been for me my personal favorite. I think Dark Knight has been the best. But for me, personal favorite, Batman Returns.
Yeah, I think in general, the Dark Knight, everybody used to say like the Dark Knight is the best, but like, I don't know. Batman Returns, what was like that? Who were the main?
That was Michael Keaton with Danny DeVito as Penguin
and
Michelle Pfeiffer as Catwoman.
Okay, yes. So I mean, that one usually gets kind of like it's either or. I feel like that Batman everybody always references that's Batman, and then you throw Dark Knight in the mix, and then it's like, it's like, I think that's where it gets interesting, right? So now we had this whole new incarnation, of Batman. And I was also like, honestly, when I first heard about the Batman, first of all, it was not on my radar. I was like, it's another Batman and Robert Pattinson. No, I don't think I'm here for it. I really didn't think I was gonna be here for it. I'm gonna be honest. I was like, because he's irky to me anyway. Like, he's like low key irky to me. Like,
so you're not a general like Pattinson fan.
Nah, I think I appreciate what he does. He's just a little irky to me. Okay. The broodiness is irky, but He's just a little irky. But okay, so like what were you gonna say?
No, I was just saying I feel that. That's all. That's all I was saying.
Gotcha. So here's the thing, like here on the channel, guys. So like Shamira and I, you know, we're both in entertainment, you know, we're actors, we're writers, directors. So these are the areas of the film that we really like deep dive in. So, you know, we're going to be talking about, you know, the overall storyline. Like I want to jump into that first. Like, so what, Shamira, the Batman, did you think about this, the overall writing story?
Yo, Matt Reeves did the damn thing. It's like on Thanksgiving when it's like, yeah, that one aunt come over and cook, and you know she gonna be like, oh, here she comes, and you're like,
mac and cheese,
foot in it. That's
the mac and cheese.
He put his foot in this movie. It was, in my opinion, so well done. And I also kind of appreciate that it wasn't supposed to be based on any one specific particular Batman, you know, story, because that allowed him more leeway to do his own thing. I think it was so well done. Every moment that I thought the film was about to end, where I was like, okay, cool, we done wrapped it up. What time? Oh, there's more. Every moment. It was so jam-packed.
Yes.
Full of just stuff happening, moments. It was really well done. Yeah. And one of the things I loved, my favorite portion of it, writing-wise, and maybe overall, was the third act. The third act, I can't wait to talk about that because it was so well done.
Yeah. Like, and here's the thing: the movie is 3 hours long.
Yeah,
it does not feel like a 3 hour long movie.
Right. Yes, it did not feel 3 hours. Nope. Yes. Yep. Like,
I'm keeping it real, y'all. Like, and I be like, I'm the type of person where like I ain't got the best attention span, so I might be in and out. You know what I'm saying? If I'm fully immersed, I'm immersed. But when I say there was also so many different storylines and plots and twists and turns that, like, I mean, you felt like usually when people attempt to do that, it doesn't work or something feels incomplete. For me, this did not feel incomplete.
I agree.
Every individual plot line was resolved, addressed. It had a clear introduction, conflict, resolution, and closure for the most part.
Yep, I agree.
And it all kind of intertwined together. And yeah, to his credit, man, Rick's like, I mean, literally, you sat there, you went on this journey, on this ride, and it did not feel like 3 hours. It did not feel like chaos and confusion. It felt like you were really, and to the point too, like, I've always heard people say, like, oh, Batman's supposed to be the greatest detective in the world. But I don't know if I always ever got that. I got that in this. It was very much given like a dark, gritty, psychological film noir detective, like superhero meets detective. Tracy meets Batman. You know what I mean? Meets film noir type of feel. And to me, we were really going through like, because to me, like a real detective, like you might have more than one case going on. You might have a lot going on. You know what I'm saying? So like it showed you how you can be working on all these different things and how they kind of intertwine and like just going through really figuring it out in real time. And to me, that writing, like it was just, I was low-key blown away for real. Like I was impressed at the story. I didn't expect it to be so good. I did not.
I agree. I was not expecting what we got at all. It was extremely well done. I think you said it all. I've absolutely 100%. Matt Reeves, you did it.
He did a daggone thing. Like I was impressed. Like, so I feel like it laid, so as an actor, right? When you're given, I feel like if you take the pieces that you're given,
right,
and then you internalize it and you bring about something better, right? You internalize that script and make your own, and you bring the essence of you to it, which in turn makes it even bigger. Right. I mean, there's a lot of talk about Robert Pattinson, like, okay, like, you know, like him, but honestly, I kind of want to like, tell me what character jumped out to you, but like, to me, that supporting cast was some of the best acting I've ever seen, period.
Yeah, I would agree with that. There was so much in this movie and it was so incredibly well done. It wasn't, and the supporting cast, unlike a lot of the previous Batman films, or even just kind of superhero films in general, like you were saying, when there's so many characters and each character has their own backstory, a lot of times they try to do too much in one film and it all just kind of falls apart. That did not happen here. And the way in which they kind of unraveled each person's backstory felt really natural. It didn't feel like exposition. There was like, I can't really think of any point where I was like, oh, they're just trying to give me the plot. Everything just felt like unnatural, like a natural progression, especially because they framed it with him as a detective more so than him as like the superhero, because it was like we went on the journey of him learning these things about these people, and that's how we naturally got people's backstories to unfold. Yeah.
So dope. And I think, to the credit, the writing allowed the characters to do that too, because, in the directing, I'm sure, but it was because every storyline had a clear beginning, middle, and end. Everybody had some type of change or shift. So it just made it easier as an actor when you're given those pieces. You have somewhere to start, somewhere to go, and something you're aspiring to. You know what I'm saying? Even I loved how, like, this kind of goes back to the writing a little bit as well. But I loved how, like, we didn't have to rehash the Batman origin story. It actually started with the little boy's story that was similar to Batman's, but it threw us right in the middle of the investigation. And I thought that shit was genius. They're like, fuck all this rehashing how Batman got here. We know how Batman got here. He 2 years in, and I thought that shit was genius as well.
Yeah, like, I agree. And that also allowed for character development for Batman, because since he is dealing with somebody who is kind of living his story, it is influencing the choices he's making and allowing him to reflect on his own story. And we're starting to see him deal with his own sort of trauma surrounding what happened to him that built him into this person, by looking at it from this third person perspective, from this, this little kid.
Right. And I think it was just a lot of genius put in. So, like, I mean, I do want to talk about Batman and Robert Pattinson, but I want to highlight some of these dope actors that stole the movie in a way where, like, okay, so here's the thing, in my opinion, The Dark Knight, the Joker performance overshadows the film. In my opinion.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, is it as good without their performance? And I think it is, but I just think that we can't ever really have that conversation, because that performance kind of is such the big thing about, especially with, unfortunately with, him, his death, untimely death and all of that. Like, it adds to the lore of that, you know what I mean? The gravity of that film.
Yep.
But in this case, the acting was just so good across the board that it worked hand in hand with the story and the visuals and the directing style and all of that. Like, it just worked hand in hand, and everybody bought their freaking A game.
And you know what? I really feel like in some ways this film was a really good sort of case study about acting itself, because the choices that these actors were making, you could see how it was working in tandem with the writing and the directing, but you could also see the subtleties that were very clearly actor choices, and it just worked so beautifully. Like, just some of the delivery of the lines, like, I know, because again, like you said, we're going to talk about Robert Pattinson as Batman, but there was some of the lines that he delivered that he did in such a way that it helped me to better understand Batman, if that makes sense.
Like what? Like, get into it. If you want to jump to him, like, let's talk about it.
Well, it was like, so there are moments, because I will say that at first I was like, I don't know, this Batman might come off a little evil, right? Because he was a lot more brooding. He wasn't, most people, when they do Batman, you've got Batman who's like all brooding and moody, and then you got Bruce Wayne, he's like billionaire playboy. But to me, I like this portrayal better because there wasn't a clear distinction, and to me that made a lot more sense, because it showed Batman, Bruce Wayne, as a more damaged human being. It was like, this human being has had so much damage and trauma that he's trying to work through by putting on this costume and trying to prevent this from happening to somebody else and unraveling these. That's the only way he knows how to process it. But it made so much more sense to me. I was like, oh, Batman, Bruce Wayne is depressed. This is him acting out. It all just made so much more sense than like the billionaire playboy with the hot model on his arm who later goes and fights crime for some reason. Like, huh?
Yeah. This made more sense for like Batman's overall story. However, I ain't gonna lie, it took me some time to warm up to him. I think it was smart too, presenting Batman first and not Bruce Wayne, because you had to, I think it sold me on Batman before I was sold on his portrayal of Bruce Wayne. All I saw was Twilight, Batman, multiverse for a long time. I'm gonna keep it real. Like, I was like, here he go with this.
Edward Cullen is the Batman.
Oh my God. It was torturous at first because I was like, here we go. But as time, I will say he made me a believer as time went. And I do think, and like, I don't even want to, that's why I want to say that first, but like, to me, if there was a weak link in the acting, it's him, but not really, because he was excellent. But everybody was like superb. So it's like, he was damn good. But if he's the weakest link, then it's like, and it was only moments that I saw. I was like, but then he had some moments that were so fucking powerful. Like he was acting his ass off behind that Batman suit in a way I've seen nobody do. Because I seen his eyes tearing, okay?
Yep. I agree with that. There are moments where the camera lands on him and he's just looking at something and you see his inner monologue. You just like, oh, I can see Batman understanding this person's pain and reflecting. Like there was just even, I don't want to jump too far ahead, but like, I'm gonna save that for when we get to that part. But there was just so many incredible moments, I think. I didn't find any flaws or problems with his acting at all. Personally, I thought everything he did was a choice. And I think it could be because I have seen him in a bunch of different things. Have you seen Good Time?
Everybody said, no, I haven't. And I gave him the benefit of the doubt that like, for me as a person that hasn't seen him in anything, it just took me a little while to come around. But what I will say in hindsight, I did come around and I did in turn now understand his choices and did believe it and understand like the quirks and the vulnerability. It was just like ever so slight moments that had me kind of like, but overall, he was acting his ass off.
Yeah. I
mean, like, and I'm saying it as a person that's not necessarily just like a fan of him on the surface. Like, I'm just like, okay, fine. Like, he made me a believer in a way that, and I do agree. I think that Batman has to have clear distinctions between Batman, Bruce Wayne, and then maybe just like who he really is just as a regular person. However, I think to the genius of Matt Reeves, this choice to have him one note is intentional. And it was times that even him walking around just as kind of like an unsuited Batman, that it felt like, I didn't know if it was the Riddler or him sometimes.
Right.
I'm like, oh, is that the Riddler? I'm like, oh shit, no, that's Batman creeping around in almost the same getup.
Weird creep, yeah.
Yeah, like, oh, okay. But I was gonna say, like, to Matt Reeves' credit, I believe what he's showing us is why it's necessary for him to have the distinctions. And so I think this is laying the groundwork for him evolving, because he even understands in hindsight that I do have to step up more in the philanthropy because the city's looking for that Wayne name to give them hope. So being the Batman is not just putting on a suit. Being the Batman does extend to the boardroom, does extend to the charities. I do need to pay attention. I need to pay attention to the fucking books, because when my parents died and I didn't pay attention to the books, these criminals hijacked my family's name and did all of this. I want to say some fuck shit. You know, they did some messed up shit because I wasn't paying attention.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like good point. I agree with that.
So I feel like even though it's and I feel like it's something that a lot of people might kind of take issue with, but I see it as laying the foundation for where he's going to go from here.
Yeah.
And making him earn
Well, I was gonna say,
Yeah.
a lot of people's argument for the need for a distinction between Batman and Bruce Wayne is just like, oh, if there's no distinction, you can easily figure out that that's who's beneath the suit. But I think another thing that Matt Reeves does in this movie, he makes Bruce Wayne this kind of character that you would never expect to do anything. He's known as reclusive. He's known as like this, you know, weird kid without friends or whatever. So it made it, nobody would suspect that this little rich reclusive kid that never comes out, that nobody is even like, people are like, oh, Bruce Wayne, oh, where have you been? Nobody would expect that he would be the Batman. So I think you're right. I think Matt Reeves is like laying that groundwork of like, oh, okay.
Because I mean, this makes more sense for how we get from rich boy that loses his parents to a vigilante. Because to me, like, I never realized how much him being a billionaire playboy didn't make sense until this movie. Like, why does it kind of don't make sense? But like, you know, you're like, I mean, you start thinking, man, like, I mean, but I think this gets him there because he understands like that's actually the real mask he puts on. Bruce Wayne gonna be the mask.
Right.
But I think we're gonna see him evolve to that. So besides, I mean, obviously throw out any other like key points you saw about him, but like what other actors? Like it's definitely one in particular that I want to highlight that I was just blown the fuck away by. And I think you're gonna know who it is.
Well, I think I know who it is, so I'm gonna let you do that. But like I loved Zoe Kravitz as Catwoman. I think she did a really amazing job. This is one of the best performances I've seen from her ever. Such subtlety, such nuance, vulnerability, strength. Like I believed her. I didn't, because you know what, we got her backstory. I don't remember. I'm like, did I blink and miss the part where they explained how she knew all this martial arts fighting and stuff? Like, did I miss that, or was that not addressed? I don't think they addressed it.
They may not.
We understand like who she is, why she lives the way she does. And I was like, where did she learn to fight like that? So maybe that's something they're saving for elsewhere, or maybe I really did just miss it. But even with not knowing that, I didn't question her. I didn't question her motives. I didn't question that moment. Oh my God. It's like, well, I want to talk about the third act on its own, but there's a moment in the third act where I saw such incredible acting from her, and it's all just in her face.
Oh my God. She was acting her ass off. She was acting her ass off. Okay. We gonna have to give a little yummy because she really was acting her ass off. But so many people was acting their ass off. Like you can't even like distinguish
about a film like this. You cannot come and bring your B game. You can't bring your A- game. You have to come and go above and beyond when you cast somebody of the caliber of these actors. You have to, because if they acting up here and you're like, oh, it doesn't work. You're gonna get fired. Point blank, period. And I think that was, I know you haven't seen Robert Pattinson in a lot, but like for me, that was partly why once I trusted him in this role. That was partly why I trusted him in this role, because I've seen the caliber of his acting. And then you've got Zoe Kravitz, you got Paul Dano as the Riddler. He's Riddler.
Killed it.
Slaughtered. Okay, like shout out to him.
That was a masterclass. I mean, just the subtleties, even like the backstory. And then, you know, I didn't realize there was a graphic novel that gives the backstory to all of this. That's like a prequel, which if y'all got time, you know, check it out. Or some people doing reviews on it. But even without it, like you don't need it. But it's just like his background and him being this kid at this orphanage. It just all was just some. Let me tell you something. As an actor, typically you have to come up with your own like kind of layers and backstory and all of that shit. But it was just given on a platter. Like, I mean, then you can just go in on what's been given to you. Like, that shit was wild. I was like,
and here's the thing. I felt like, because we get Riddler's backstory once he's unmasked and all this stuff. So we get his backstory verbally. But I feel like I got his backstory without, of course, the specifics, but I understood who this man was, who this character was, who the Riddler was, before we even unmasked him, before we even had any of that laid out, because it was all in Paul Dano's performance. It was incredible. The fact that this man was completely covered in a mask, like not like a half mastered. His shit was completely fucking covered for most of the movie, but I understood who he was, what he was doing, and why. Like
immediately
unveil it. I knew. Oh God!
Immediately. From the moment he hit the screen and he was just standing there. And I'm like, so he's just like, I mean, immediately his presence on, like, it just lets you know. And then I love the nods to like the Zodiac killer, because he was like basically dressed exactly as a Zodiac killer. Like, yep. So, and just these nods to like, and it made sense. It was just like, they really tried to tackle this, and like the genius of this incarnation of the Batman or whatever is, I think like it's believable that these people would turn into these people. Like, it's just every single person. It's like crazy believable that they will go from this to that. Right. Yep. I mean, every single actor was just the caliber of their skill and how a lot of these actors could balance comedy and all this stuff. Two, I'm gonna throw out there as well. I mean, I just think like literally all these people we listen to me are all equal in their level of performance and delivery in these roles. They all across the board are equal to me. So it's no rhyme or reason. I didn't know till the movie was over and my brother told me that the Penguin was fucking Colin Farrell, because I didn't do any research on the movie. I didn't watch. I mean, I may have saw the trailer. I just intentionally didn't get any exposure to it. I just wanted to watch it, period. When I say I sat in that movie and looked at my brother and said, what?
Yeah.
I said, hold up. I said, wait a minute. What?
Unrecognizable, disappeared into that role.
Look at his face.
Now, I used to be attracted to Colin Farrell. Let me tell you. So I was like, that's Colin Farrell?
Acted his ass off, disappeared, and brought something that was really the essence of Penguin to the surface that I couldn't figure out if it was the animated series Batman Penguin. It was something about just his kind of like swag in that role that to me felt like this is who the fucking Penguin. And this was like, I just felt like whoever this actor is playing the Penguin is acting their ass off. Like, I just was saying that. And then when I found out it was him, I was like, well, get me out of here. I'm packing my shit. I'm out.
Yeah, because for me, Danny DeVito has always been the Penguin. Like, there has never been any equal in my brain. But that's what I think is truly great about this franchise, and about the franchise, the characters and the actors who take on the roles. Once somebody does that role to death, you can't imitate it. You can't go back and try to be Jack Nicholson's Joker, so you do your own. And then you're like, oh shit, I can't be Heath Ledger's Joker, so you can't be Jim Carrey's Riddler. You have to find another way, because then nobody's gonna, because when an actor drops the mic on the fucking role, it's like it's throwing down a gauntlet for the next person to step into the shoes. It's like, now what are you gonna do? Level the fuck up.
Yeah, and you back out of that. I think the only way to approach that is you zoom out and then you tackle what the essence of the character is. And I just think that everybody did this with genius, because coming into a franchise like the Batman, it's like, I mean, it's been so many times, and it's been slapsticky and zips and booms and pows, and it's been dark and broody and scary. It's been so much shit. Like, it ain't been like one, like, Spider-Man gonna be the neighborhood friendly Spider-Man. It's gonna be funny. It might be serious, but it's still going to be this. Batman's been everything that anything can be. It's been a comedy. It's been like, so, but also it's like a downside, and the beauty of that is it's so much to pull from, right? And so you can pull from like the through in the essence of that. But superb job by all of them. Carmine Falcone, friggin' John Turturro killed it. The moment I saw him come on the screen, I say, oh, it's going to be every time. I can't even tell you what he's been in. I just know every time I see him, I know it's going to be a good time. Like, right now, you ask me, what he been in? I'll be like, everything, nothing. I don't know. But I just know when I see him, might not know, I know he going to kill it. Oh, friggin' Alfred, Andy Serkis.
Yeah, which he was giving me sexy Alfred, but he was also giving me like badass Alfred. Like I love his outfit. I really did. It was
his Alfred was good.
That I don't necessarily think hasn't been done before, but his take on it was very fresh and very specific to him. So I appreciated his Alfred, and I can't compare him to Michael Caine. He and Michael Caine are my two favorite Alfreds. We'll just leave it at that.
Well, I think his Alfred, yeah, I would say that's fair. I would think this Alfred had a lot of influence from the TV show Gotham, which I love. I love Gotham's take on the villains and his world and his crime world. And I think that's my new favorite version of Alfred, is this idea of this ex-military, like kind of not young, but young on the younger side. You know what I'm saying? Still old enough to be an elder to, you know what I mean, the Batman at whatever age. But and I didn't know that he played friggin' Gollum. How you say it? Gollum.
Yeah, that's Andy.
My precious. You all know my precious. Anyway, I know he played him in Caesar from Planet of the Apes. I was like, wait, what? Killed it.
Don't forget about Black Panther. He was the boy with Killmonger, yeah. Yeah. He crushes it. That's in this, like that caliber. Like you cannot, if this movie wasn't good, I'd be like, well, I just quit Hollywood because I don't understand. How can you take
I didn't
that?
know. I didn't know all of these actors were even going to be in it. Like, I didn't even realize like that was going to be a thing. Like, it's so friggin' good. So how said we? And then obviously you got Jeffrey Wright as friggin' James. I just believed it. I was like, yes, he's tired. And that's what he said. He said the one thing I wanted to bring to this role was he's just exhausted. It's just thing after thing after thing happening. Right. And he just be like, oh, here we go. All right, here we go. You know, but he needed to be messing with Ebert. I just thought his portrayal in that, I thought it was genius. I mean, I just think there was humor. It was like this dark, gritty, scary thing, kind of, but it was also like light levity and a little bit of humor. I thought it was dope. I just think across the board, the acting was good. I do briefly want to shift into like the directing style, which I mean, like, you know, and then we can kind of go into our favorites or whatever. But like, to me, overwhelmingly, the cinematography.
Oh, yes. It was amazing.
Amazing. The way this was shot, the way this through the lens. Yeah. That entrance. Ooh. The entrances. Yeah. This is all about entrances. Everybody's entrance was like, you know what I'm saying? Like everybody's entrance had like purpose and like Batman, you hear him. Like somebody mentioned, you hear his footsteps before you see him.
And that fucking theme song, I love that theme song. Ooh, I love that theme
song. The score. I remember being in the movies and hearing like and being like, I never necessarily say this unless it's like blowing me away. I was like, damn, it's a good damn score. Like,
I've been obsessed with the score since I heard the trailer, but I do love the way they use it to highlight him. And every time his footsteps, you hear that footfall over that doom, 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 with the thud of those boots, and you're like, oh shit, you get like a chill. It's like, okay. Like, oh shit.
Like, he coming with that Batman jar. I'm telling you, Robert Pattinson made me a believer. Like, just like how you say you trusted him in this role. No, but he earned my trust. Right. And just all of these elements working together to sell this overall world. I mean, Gotham technically is it a character of its own. That's what I love about the Batman is that Gotham, the city, is its own character too. You know what I mean? Yeah. And the tech.
Yeah. Oh no, I was just gonna say as far as setting, like I just love that it was shot on location in New York. And I don't know if they shot it during the pandemic or not, but like, you know, we're both former New Yorkers. So there were there were alleyways that I recognized. And for me, it lent more of a visceral quality of knowing like, I've walked down the streets and felt this danger. And even just the skyline, everybody knows New York skyline. There was just so many moments where it was like, to me, that brought it into the real world in a very specific way. Gotham Square Garden, like...
Right, I'm like, And even like this, and I do think it was a mix. I think it was a blend of like locations and stuff. But I think whether it's all filmed in New York and not, we all listen, like Gotham is New York. Like, I think we all kind of get that, like whether it's, studio pieces. I just think there was no breaks in it. Everything was seamless. So whether it was in studio or on location, like whatever, like it was no breaks in it. I mean, it was directed so well. The way these pieces came together, the imagery, you know what I'm saying? Like that, just every single element was there for me. You know what I'm saying? As far as that. And the tech, I was going to say like the tech, the contact lenses, that shit was dope. Contacts was friggin' dope. And my favorite tech, that Batmobile. That Batmobile.
Yo.
And because of my seats, I had the Dolby experience. So he revving the engine. And I'm sitting there in my chair going like, and that shit lasted forever, but it felt like 3 seconds. It just felt, everybody in the movie was like, what the fuck is that? Like everybody in the movie, in the movie theater. Like, it wasn't like the people on screen and the people watching the screen was all like, I know that ain't the Batmobile. It was like, oh, the fuck. So it just brought us all into this, like, everybody was in reverence of what was about to take place. And it was a dope, like, unintentional breaking of the fourth wall, in my opinion. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was like, y'all think what I'm thinking, even though you in the movie and I'm watching the movie. Like, it was like, it was really cool.
Right, you're like, oh, we about to get run over, y'all.
I looked over at my brother. He was just like, like in a pure state of glee, and I kept trying to talk to him, and he was just like, "Yeah." I was driving him crazy, but no, I definitely, I just think Overwatch. Like, I mean, I don't think I could make up holes. The only hole I saw was that literally Robert Pattinson had to sell us on him being Batman, which I think by the end he did. But it was just so many scenes, like, and if you want, like, go into like what were your standout scenes? And I know you want, the third act and all of that. Like, but what would you say was like some of your takeaways, like your best?
Well, to run them down, I also like the contacts because I love that they gave him an added glance. They gave him the opportunity to read, like when he said, I have to force myself to rewatch this. Excuse me, I felt like that was really interesting because I'm like, in my brain, this whole movie was about Bruce Wayne's attempt to process this trauma and how this Batman is a manifestation of that. And so for him with the lenses and stuff, I love that gave him that additional opportunity. And also gave him the chance. They used it in a very unique way to connect the characters. You know what I mean? He was able to connect to Catwoman via that, and learn things about her and all this stuff. Alfred's able to connect to Batman through it. So to me, I really love those contact lenses. I thought that was that was genius. Standout scenes for me, my two favorite standout scenes are, of course, the scene at the funeral. And then, of course, that whole third act, but particularly after Batman goes to Arkham, everything from there on was just like, okay.
And the movie could have ended when he got to Arkham.
Right. Before that, there were so many moments where it felt like it was wrapped up. It could have ended when they unmasked the Riddler. It could have ended when Falcone was taken down. It just could have, and it could have ended like there was just so many moments where I was like, okay, I felt like I got a full story. And then they were like, no, but there's more.
But wait, there's more. Gotham City. No, no, what? Yo, it just kept being more, and I was here for it, and it didn't feel overdone. I definitely agree with you about both of those scenes. And I'll add two scenes I want to add. Definitely, and I mentioned it too, but like that Batmobile introduction scene. Oh, in the car chase with Penguin. Even though I really didn't call him Penguin like that, which I like. They kind of, you know what I mean? Like, that whole chase scene was like top notch. Like that was on some like Fast and Furious level, but knowing about the backstory, it's intentional. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So I mean, like, look, it was given what it needed to gave when it needed to give it. Okay, so like all those pieces. Oh, and so that whole car chase scene to me was phenomenal. I think that was like my brother's favorite and one of my absolute favorites. Also for me, the scene where we thought Alfred was out of here and Batman was discovering this with dope fact. Okay, dope fact really quick. Okay. The cop that he was in there figuring this out with, me and Shamir, because we went to acting school, acting class with him. Gil.
Shout out to Gil.
I think Gil Perez Abraham or whatever. Definitely go follow him. He is so good in this. Okay, so good. Like, and I was so happy, like, to see immediately when he came on the screen in like the first, like one of the first scenes. I said, I know him. Oh my God, I was in the movies like, man, hype, like.
Flowers right now because you.
Yes, Gil.
Yeah.
Yes. Come on through, Gil. So he did a great. He was the lead officer, if you don't know who I'm talking about. But the discovery of what was happening with you know, where the bomb was initially met for Bruce Wayne, and then him rushing trying to get to him, and he did not get there in time. I really thought they got Alfred out of here because you know sometimes they be making choices in these movies that just be like, I mean, that might get him out of here. So I want those. And then the moments like. Just his frantic nature, he became undone a little bit over trying to get to him. He said, fuck everything. I gotta get to Alfred. Fuck everything. Right. And that was, you know, they touched upon that a little bit. So I mean, it'll just, you know what I'm saying? It's one of those ones. And I definitely think like it just was so many like amazing scenes. Like the directing to me was on an absolute another level.
It really was. It really, really was. And like even Gil's choices were very interesting, you know, like I mean, there were moments from Gil where I saw like such nuance, like that where he like I could tell he was like, oh, I hate the Batman, but then Bruce Wayne walks in, he's like, Bruce Wayne, where it was such a subtle change, but it got a laugh from the audience because the audience is like, oh, this dude, like, oh, this fucking poster, like, you know, that kind of shit.
Right. Exactly. So I loved it. Yeah, I also liked how he had like two clear, like he didn't like Batman, but loved Bruce Wayne, like Gil's character specifically. And so I was like, they the same person, bro. And you know what I mean? But overall, I just think writing was dynamic. Acting was some of the best acting I have seen, especially in this level of like a comic booky type of movie. Like, I just think it's literally some of the best real grounded acting I have ever seen in a movie like this. And the directing is on another level. Like, I left the movie wondering, was I tripping that it was so good?
And another thing that I really wanted to discuss was just the Black female mayor in this.
Yes. Talk about it.
Because for me, it held so much weight for me, like as a Black woman, because one, just the idea that this is like Gotham is supposed to be like the most corrupt city in this fictional USA, right? And for this Black woman to step up and say, I know how awful this shit is, and I'm gonna be the one to step up and step in and try to clean it the fuck up, going up against all these, you know, powerful white men who are trying to take her down, it was just so much. And then the fact that when, you know, the shit with the Riddler, and then he sends those guys after her, that was so triggering for me. I was like, yo, she just got elected. She, you know, you step into that moment of like, all right, we about to do it. We about to get some change. And then they came and took her, like tried to take her out. And it was so triggering because it was another one of those, we take one step forward and 10 steps back. It was like, they literally came for her. And it's crazy because it wasn't even so much, it was about her, but it also wasn't about her. But even still, just the fact that she was caught up in that, it was just so, it was a lot. It was a lot. And two really quick things. Funny thing is when I saw her come on the screen, I immediately thought of you. I immediately thought Shamir could have played this part. She looks a lot like you. Y'all favor a lot. I was like, yo, that's freaking Jamaica. She could play that part. Like, it's crazy. And then like what hair products is she using? Because her like girl, but go ahead. I'm sorry.
Girls was popping. Okay. And then to your point, I had an experience with it where, you know, Gordon, when he came to her, was like, nah, like they trying to kill you, like, come on. And the fact that she was like, no, I'm going out here and I'm gonna do me. This what that shit say to me. Black women, stop doing that shit. Stop just throwing your body on the front line. And that's what it showed. They're like, oh shit, I should have listened. Because I feel like we do that a lot as a culture. And I think some things we need to learn how to let them play the fuck out. I just feel like as a culture, we do a lot of taking hits for everybody else. And I think it's time for us to maybe hang back, heal from the wounds we already got. And then if we can be, maybe it's time for some other people. Y'all can go out there and take the hits. Like, I mean, like nobody should be getting hit, but we shouldn't be thrusting our bodies out. And I get it. She stood up for what the change in Gotham needed to be. And I'm like, you know what I mean? Black women don't get enough credit. They don't.
I agree with that. I absolutely agree. I felt the same way in that moment. I was like, yo, she really is just, she's like, you know, being a strong Black woman, which is like such a point of, it's such indicative of our trauma. It's a trauma response that we feel like we always got to be the ones to fix it. These white men in Gotham, they ain't do shit. Every motherfucking body's corrupt. The police force corrupt. Everybody's fucking corrupt. Nobody did shit. The only person out there doing anything is a fucking vigilante, and God knows like what he's really up to. You know, that's what I'd be thinking about with her. So she felt like she was the only one who could step up and step in and try to do something. And yeah, I had the same reaction. I'm like, no, sis, no, don't
go out there.
No, like, fuck, no. But I will say, the scene that I loved, like toward the end, where she's on the podium and she's just a step above everybody else, that shot was beautiful. That she's like, all these, you know, people are below her, and she's like, we're gonna figure it out, we're gonna handle, you know, I just love that shot. I just love that imagery. I thought that imagery was really beautiful. So
first of all, that also just, I thought all of that was beautiful. And the fact that like he really blew all like the whole wall around the city, I was like, he really gonna flood the whole fucking city? I was like, wait a fucking minute now. I know we not, wait a goddamn minute. Now, wait one goddamn going minute. You know, like that was, again, the movie could have been over.
Right. But that whole third act, from the minute that Batman goes to Arkham, the minute, first of all, the acting in that scene gave me was giving me actor life, was giving me chills. The reactions, Paul Dano's visceral response, like where he's just screaming, and it was like you could hear the derangement in his scream. It was crazy. I could hear mental illness in the tone of his voice.
Oh my God.
Killing it. Like that whole fucking scene, I love that scene.
He was I felt like I ain't never heard nobody scream like that. It was giving me very much like Edward Norton in what's the fuck is that movie I love when he's playing like the mentally challenged person?
No, 25th. I'm gonna just be naming movies.
Maybe one Edward Norton, never mind. But the one that never mind, where he played crazy and then ended up getting off at the end.
I think I know what you're talking about, but I can't remember the name of it.
Yeah. What I'm saying is,
yeah.
It hasn't been a performance to me that kind of struck me in the same way until this one from that same type of character. Little deranged, little crazy, same but crazy. Like that. I mean, that role to me was like a very one of my best favorite movies and favorite like characters, like hands down. So I mean, just all of this together, like I mean, literally, again. The shit didn't feel like 3 hours. Like it did not feel like hours.
It did not. But like,
and it's actually a 4-hour cut. Yeah, I want to see the 4 hours.
I will watch the 4-hour cut. I can't imagine what else is in it, but I'll watch it. But I did want to say real quick, like in the third act, like the flooding was incredible. But I also love that they used a natural element that Batman had to conquer. It wasn't because Batman, you know, he's conquering all these crazy villains and all this stuff. And that's what we always see from Batman. This is the first time I saw Batman go up against nature. Like, you know, like what's his face blew the wall, but then it was like, because you're powerless at that point. Like you can't, what can you do? He can't go and build a wall all of a sudden. Like, he became a man at that point. And one of the scenes that I love is when they're in the garden, everything's flooding, everybody's trying to figure out what to do. I love their reactions. I love that he just gets in the center. He just like, fuck it. That's when I think he starts to realize that he, like he says in the end, he can't just be vengeance. He has to be more than that. This is when we start to see Batman become less vengeance and more the hero. And then I love the moment where Zoe Kravitz, her Catwoman, is in there and doesn't know what to do, sees him doing the thing, and it's all in her face. All that acting that was in her face of just her processing that and just making that decision that, like, all right, here I go.
I gotta like,
it was beautiful.
Two things just to touch on what you just said. One, did you get the sense that when he hit the thing and dropped down in the middle at the end, that like, I felt like part of him was sacrifice. I feel like part of him was killing himself to say, like, I gotta die so that the city can be okay. And then he dropped and was alive and was like, oh, well, I feel like, you know, people like, well, God got me here for a reason. So like, oh, well, I didn't die. So let me try to help as many people as I can. Like, I felt like part of him was.
Yeah.
What you say?
I was just saying, I think Robert Pattinson's Batman, his Bruce Wayne has a death wish, I think, for sure.
And I think he definitely was like, the solution is me killing myself. But then he ain't died. So then he was like, all right, well, fuck it. All right, let me. That. And then I would say, like, Zoe Kravitz, like, first of all, that fucking chemistry. I was shocked. He's still presented as like a young guy. He wasn't no billionaire playboy. He was a recluse that maybe wasn't as good with the ladies, but also like they had this very intimate, like, and felt, and is that like a storyline that Falcone is her father? Catwoman's dead?
I don't know. If it is, I don't know at all.
That shit was wild too. And she was like, Daddy, he was like, what? Yo, I just love this portrayal of like Falcone. Like, he killed it, like, and then I'm fighting at it. And he's like, why you making me do this? Then he said in that moment, like, you know, just like your mother made me do it, like, damn, he said he killed your mother. Shit. Woo! I was like, God damn.
I think is partly why we see that chemistry between the Batman and Catwoman, because they understand each other in this way that, like, I think has been done in the comics. I think they have maybe tried to touch on it in some movies, but unsuccessfully. This was the first time I really understood them together as like more than just like
why it made sense. Like, oh, he's hot and she's hot, right? Like, oh, they're just hot. No, because it was an unlikely pair, in my opinion. Yeah. I just felt like it didn't make sense. So I feel like maybe that abandonment was that like energy that safe space. The very thing that made them unsafe in the world is the one thing that made them safe with each other. And it was so pure and innocent and vulnerable.
Yeah.
Oh, and like, oh, it's so many things. We can't say everything, y'all. Maybe we'll do an add-on video. But like, when the Riddler was like, when the Riddler and Batman, and he was like, yeah, I did this for us. And he was like, oh, you not with the shits? Like, and then he started like, and then he was like, he unraveled. And then he's like, oh, you're not as smart as I thought you were. Because you ain't figured the shit out yet. He starts singing, Ave Marie. I said, yo, this nigga crazy. I was like, he is crazy, okay? Oh, I was so here for all of it. I was here.
So fucking good. I did love that too. I love that whole dynamic between them. And I love the idea. Imagine, like, no, we gotta touch on that for a second. Imagine the fucking Riddler, this psychopath, is out there doing this and thinking that Batman is working alongside him. Like, he really believed that shit. Like, he really thought, like, oh, we working in tandem. I'm doing this for you. Like, you helping me. Like,
yeah, like you the brawn, I'm the brains, and you smart too. And like, we a team. He like, we and that.
Some of the choices too, because not only the choices for the envelopes that say to the Batman, but even when he was doing the trivia, right? When he had the homeboy with the bomb on his neck, right? And he's doing the trivia. And I was like, yo, Batman is giving him the answers. Why isn't he reacting to like, he can't help you? He didn't say it anyway. He's like, no, he can't help you. He really thought like, this man is the same as me. he's here, he's giving them the answers because we sussing them out. He wants the same thing I want. We here together.
Yeah. It just makes sense when you think back, like how it makes sense how he would think that Batman's working with him, even though in his mind he not. And that's when Batman snaps. It's like, you're pathetic. And that was so opposite of what we would think Batman or Bruce Wayne, how he would respond, because he's usually so in control. And I love seeing these moments of him losing control, because I think that also lays the groundwork of why he can't be losing control.
Right.
Because people, it's too much left up for interpretation.
Right.
And he's representing this for, I mean, it was just like, I was just blown. I mean, by now.
Wait, one more scene. I'm so sorry. One more scene that I want to touch on. Almost the very end, where he's carrying that lady to the stretcher and he places her in the stretcher.
Yes.
And she won't let go. And that's like the moment where he starts to understand what he now represents, as opposed to the very beginning where he's trying to help that man. The man's like, please don't hurt me. You know, like there's that immediate shift of like, now it's like, no, you're my safety, my protection. Like, I trust you, as opposed to like, who the fuck are you? Don't come near me, leave me alone. You know? So I love that too. Like just that little subtle moment. Like, I love that moment had like, I know, tears, you know, for that.
It was so good. I mean, it was just so many. I mean, the little moments felt like big moments, and the big moments felt so touchable, like that you could reach out and touch them. It was just, it really was like done masterfully. I was blown away.
Yeah.
And even I felt like it had the tone a little bit, and especially with the cinematography, it felt a little bit like the game, I think, Arkham Asylum, which one of my exes used to play all the time. It kind of felt like this was a real live action version of that world in a sense, a little bit. And of course we got to know it from the Joker, but in comparison to every fucking thing, I didn't even think that was like, I mean.
Yeah, like the rest of the movie, I think overshadowed that one Easter egg. It was just like, okay.
We ain't need it.
Yeah.
We ain't even need the Joker.
Nah.
And it's saying a lot.
That's almost like, I would almost say, I think the movie's a tiny bit, if the movie's at 99.999%, I think it could be at 100% if they took that moment out. That was because that's the one moment that was just like, this is cool. Right. It's just like the studio told you to put this in here. Okay. You know what I mean? Like that didn't feel as aligned with the sort of mastery of the rest of the movie, because the rest of the movie understood that it didn't need any gimmicks. It didn't need any of that shit. It was just like, nah, this is just a well-told fucking story.
It felt like a deleted scene that they were like, no, we've got to have this in the movie. It felt like not a deleted scene, credit scene. Yeah.
Did you guys stay till after the credits?
I did, and it was just like
game over.
Did I miss it?
Huh?
Did I miss it? No,
it was
game over.
Point. The text. That's it. That was all it was.
My brother said it might have been a website one day too.
I didn't see any website. I just saw it say goodbye.
Me neither. So maybe you had to say like or goodbye or whatever. And then like how the really gonna behave? I was like, yo, you got a Twitch channel? Like,
no, you didn't. That was DOS. Yo, I was sitting in the theater like, yo, I cannot believe the Riddler took it back to 1993 and this motherfucker over here using DOS. Like, did you ever have DOS on your computer? You had to type in WIN. You had to do like, it was like the bracket and then .. WIN to launch Windows. You hit enter. I'm like, this motherfucker in DOS over here. Like,
oh yeah, for the typing, but I'm talking about his live stream was on
oh, I see what you mean. Yeah.
He had a Twitch channel. He legit had a Twitch channel. Like, I don't know what it's called in Gotham. Gotham Live maybe is what it's called. I don't know. Because I also don't be compelled to see a movie more than once all the time. And we talk about this. It's not about me wanting to see this twice. I feel like you have to see it twice.
Yeah.
It's so much going on. Like, you have to watch it again.
Yeah.
I just feel like it's designed for you to watch it and watch it and watch it and find new moments. And look, I can't say enough. I'm shocked. I literally left the movies and was like, I can't think this is great. Like, I think this is excellent, but maybe it's because I'm tripping. Like, I was like, nah, let me look at some other people reviews and let me talk to Shamir about this, because I was like, yeah, I had to ask my brother, like, am I tripping? He was like, no, it was pretty great. He was like, it was pretty great. Like,
that was a great fucking movie. And I am genuinely interested. Like, if any of y'all out there disagree with our opinions, like, I think our overall opinion is that we love the shit. But if any of y'all disagree, please comment. We would love to hear, love to have a discussion on the channel about, the difference of opinion, because I would love to understand, like, anybody who was like, I didn't think it was that great. I'd be like, why? Please tell me everything. Tell me why.
Tell us your favorite scenes, like what you thought about the acting, your favorite characters, and also if you didn't like it or why. Because for me, I'm telling y'all, I really do feel like the one loose screw may have been Robert Pattinson, but he was still so great that it's like, can you really say he was? It just was in comparison to the quality of everything. If I had to pick a thread, that's the only place I really feel like it's a thread that could be pulled. But then once I pull it, I'm like, maybe it's not really a thread. It was just like a piece of lint or something. You're like, it wasn't really a thread. But you start pulling it, thinking it is, and then you're like, maybe it's not a thread. So I don't know. I absolutely freaking loved it. And we got one thing we definitely love to hit on. And if we forgot anything, let me know, Shamira. But we want to highlight, this is Black Girls Watching. We want to highlight cool facts about the franchise or whatever we're watching, and definitely highlight moments from Black folk, Black people of color, but more so Black people, when they're
Black artistry. Absolutely.
Yes, that's a much better way to say. We want to celebrate Black artists, whether they're on this in front of the camera or behind the camera, in their contribution to making some of these things go. So we want to run into those, and then we'll do our review. Or you want to do our review? How you want to do it, Shamir?
Well, let's go through our trivia, because we already gave people know we love it. People like, y'all, this wasn't the review. Like, y'all done said you loved it 87,000 times.
That's a fact. So, I think it goes, are you giving it across the board? Let's just go ahead. Are you giving it across the board?
Across the board, yeah. It's for me, it's a dozen roses. Like, fuck it.
So you guys know, our rating system is we do a dozen roses, right? So we give a piece, we'll give 3 for the writing and overall storyline. We'll give 3, so a total of 6.
2 in 3 categories.
Yeah, 2 roses in each category, right? And then it equals up to a dozen roses, right? There you go. So 2 in each category equals up to a dozen roses. So it's the overall story or writing, the acting, and then the directing. So we each give 2. I honestly was trying to peel one back for just Robert Pattinson, but I can't. I'm giving it all across the board. So I'm giving it 2, 2, 2. That's 6. Shamira's giving it, so we giving it a dozen roses. Ain't really nothing to discuss.
We gotta give this movie its flowers, because for me personally, superhero movies are still so maligned. I've even heard acting coaches say that they don't think it's real acting, but I think this is an indication of where that is no longer true. That might have been true in 1999, but that is not true now. The level of mastery it takes to produce a film like this, from directing standpoint, the writing, the cinematography, and then the acting, the nuance that it takes to play literally 2 opposing personalities where nobody's supposed to know that you this person, but really you this person the whole time while you being this person and that person, and this person was like you, but you to play all of that is mastery. So I've got to give this film its fucking flowers, because I think it's something, personally, I think it's something that people are going to be talking about for a long time. And I think it is something that can be studied by filmmakers, artists, actors, because there's so much there. There's so much meat there to dig into, to learn from.
I agree. It was a beautiful symphony of all the parts that make it. It's very rare that you get everything working together, even with The Dark Knight. That Joker performance was outstanding. It's just holes. Sometimes everything. That was pretty close. That was a damn good film. I think, again, they're great for different reasons, but yeah, this shit was great. It was a great movie. Forget Batman, forget superheroes, forget comic books. This was a great fucking movie. I feel like I got closure, even though it was all these millions of different storylines, right? I got closure in everyone. The story felt complete, but also gave you something. You got a sense of there's more to come.
Yep.
With every single thread being complete.
Right. I agree.
It gives us room to grow. We're going to grow with Bruce Wayne. We're going to grow with his transition from in this next movie, I think we're going to explore that. That's what I would assume. So, yeah. I mean, yeah, you get your role. You know, I like to be kind of like a little extra critical sometimes. I can't even do it. I can't.
Yeah, this movie was incredible. I really do think so. And when we started this, we were trying to figure out if we liked it better than The Dark Knight. And at first I was like, I don't really know. But as we've gone through this movie, I think I do like it better than The Dark Knight. I do think it, and I think it was stronger because again, like the only way I can think of to say it is that like I feel like this particular movie stands on its own. If you take the name Batman and the characters out of it, right? If you change everybody's character, like if it's not Batman, he's just a detective. If this is just a film noir, it stands on its own as a good film noir. I think it's really well done. I do think it was better than The Dark Knight. I know a lot of fanboys probably gonna come for me and but for me personally, I prefer this to The Dark Knight. Absolutely.
Yeah, me too. And I think, you know, the thing that actually bumps it over is I think in hindsight, because the directing in The Dark Knight was some of the best directing, point blank the fuck period. It was some great fucking directing. But the writing, writing, and the fact that it was written and directed by the same person might also lend to that. Yeah. But the writing, there were so many things going on in The Dark Knight, and I gotta go back. I'm gonna like go back and watch it again. But just at my original assessment, I feel like there was so much going on that it was too much. It was like it wasn't handled as well. And this had double the things going on and handled it better. I think that's the thing that tips it. Because the acting was great, even though technically the acting in this to me was a little bit better. I mean, the acting in both was like superb. But I think the writing, the script throws it over.
Yep, I agree because this is also a study of what happens when the directing and the writing and the acting all come together seamlessly. Because if you give actors, sometimes you can have the greatest actor, but they're only going to be as good as the material. If the material is absolutely crap, there's only but so much they can do with that, you know? Whereas The Dark Knight, I don't think the script was crap, but I do think that the writing in this allowed so much more to be done with the acting and the directing. Like it just allowed for a lot more. So I do think that that's what puts it on the top. I agree. Yeah. And
he wrote it from that place of like, I think he wrote it for Robert Pattinson. Like he said that he wrote this Batman for him. Or correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure I read that or heard that someplace that it wasn't just a fitting the right actor. It was the movie to fit around the type of Batman that he would be. Awesome. Even in his physicality, he doesn't have to be the biggest Batman. He just has to be agile and fast, right? Which makes more sense for his Batman and him being a recluse and not getting a lot of sun, like in Twilights. Fine. And real quick thing, I thought that it's so much that the Bruce terminal underneath the city was dope.
You thought what?
I thought it was dope. I just thought it was a dope little, like, that's where the Batcave is. And it made sense because, like, when I watched the prequel thing, they were saying, it just made sense because back in the day, that's how the Bruce family got from the tower to their mansion. Like, it just made sense that it would be there and they just don't use it no more because they use something else. I just thought that was a good little, like, everything in this made sense.
I just remember one thing that I do want to touch on that, like, I don't know if this is canon in the comic books. Like, please, fanboys, if you are out there watching this, if this is canon in the comic book, please tell me because I didn't know. I completely fucking missed this. That Martha Wayne was Martha Arkham. What?
Oh, that's what it was. She was mother. Oh, she was Arkham, and then Arkham Asylum went ahead. Oh, she was crazy.
Arkham, and she married Daddy Wayne. I forget his fucking name.
Because they the two big the biggest families in the city.
And so what the Riddler said is that part of what was going on was them trying to protect Martha's secret that she at one point was institutionalized and she had some issues of her own. So
she went crazy.
Speaks to maybe Batman and some of what is inside of him. So that's something that, like, if that's in the comics,
mental illness.
Never knew that. I never knew that.
I think they touched upon her being in a sane asylum just from kind of like hearing some other people's like points on them. I think that may have been a storyline in the past that she's been institutionalized And that I think it was because she saw her parents, like one of her parents kill other parent or something like that. It was like something like that. I missed it because it came so quick, but that story, it just makes sense. Yeah, because Batman obviously got mental illness he dealing with and having been triggered by his family being. So it was like, and they was like, oh, your father's a bad person. But it's like, nah, he just would do anything to protect his wife. Even though he was, they ended up making bad choices. And then how Carmine was trying to play Batman, making him think like, yo, this shit was just good. Like, this shit was just so good.
Really well done. Really,
it was so well. And this was supposed to be a shorter video, but guess what, y'all? I think like this warrants the time because it's really,
there's so much.
So good.
Yeah.
It's so good.
It's like you can't, because there are even things we're leaving out that are like coming to mind, but I'm like, but yeah, so I do, again, I think this movie deserves all of the flowers that we can give it. I think for me, it's definitely the best movie of 2022 so far. And it's one of the best movies I've seen in a long time, if I'm being honest. So I
was captivated for 3 hours and wanted more.
And didn't feel like you said it already, but I need to reiterate, it didn't feel like 3 hours. It really didn't. I don't even think I processed that it was 3 hours until you said it. I was like, oh, she's right. Yeah, that was a 3-hour movie. Like it didn't feel as long as it did to me. Like there were really moments in that film where I was like getting my bag, like, oh, okay, this is about the end. Oh, no, it's not. There's more. Oh.
I can't remember which one of us said it, but I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think my brother was like, yeah, I can't believe that was 3 hours. And I thought it was 3 hours. He was like, yeah. And I was like, no, it did not feel like it. I'm like, it literally, I was so, and again, like, if we really start, and I'm great at nitpicking shit, but I'm like, I can't really find too much to nitpick. I mean, some of the choices that they did with Bruce Wayne and, with the Batman character, maybe, but just because it's in his, I just feel like, again, I don't necessarily agree with every single choice centered around this Robert Pattinson Batman. However, I believe truly it's laying a foundation for where we're going next.
Yeah.
If they don't do that, that's one thing. But to me, that is what it is. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
which is a genius choice. I loved it. But we do want to talk about a lot of we want to celebrate Black artistry and talk about some awesome trivia related to the Batman universe with Black artists. So let's dig into it. I want to start with my absolute favorite mind-blowing trivia fact. I'm sure some of y'all already know this, but when I found this out, it blew my mind. Marlon Wayans was supposed to play Robin in 1992's Batman Returns. Tim Burton's Batman Returns was supposed to have Marlon Wayans as Robin, but he was cut because they thought the movie was too full with too many characters. So instead, they were going to move him up to the third movie. And Tim Burton also wanted to bring back Billy D. Williams, who was Two-Face in the original Batman. And they were going to have Robin Williams play the Riddler. Imagine that movie, okay? But Tim Burton never got to make that movie. They took the franchise away from him, but apparently Marlon Wayans must have had like a play or pay clause, which basically means that you're cast in this role, but if it doesn't come to fruition, if you have a pay or play clause, then you still get paid. Because apparently Marlon Wayans claims that he still made $100,000 off of the movie. So that to me is just mind blowing. He was even fitted for a suit. Like we would have had Marlon Wayans.
And I love Marlon Wayans is one of my favorite like comedians and actors. Like I love him. Like, and it don't make sense, but he's just one of my favorites. Like I love him. And I thought like he might even still get royalties from it. I saw read somewhere
too. Like maybe because I mean, and I don't know this for sure. It's something I would have to research, but because you know how Nicholson gets a percentage of Batman to this day. Anything attached to the Batman name, like I believe if I'm somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but I think even the Batman, Jack Nicholson gets a percentage of that because when he played the role, he negotiated in his contract that any Batman property he gets a certain percentage of. So Marlon Wayans might have had something a little similar if he's still getting royalties from it. So, which is
I didn't know that. I love Marlon Wayans and I didn't know that about him, but that's super dope. Here's a quick little one. Zoe Kravitz, like I think she killed her role as Catwoman, and I loved their take on like her suit here, where it was kind of like just makeshift. I love that every single thing in this film, and it was intentional, felt like something that they actually could make. A lot of the tech was just shit that you feel like Bruce Wayne with his own wherewithal could just make. It wasn't like giving Tony Stark technology, right? And just like on the flip side, like Catwoman suit, she ain't got all the extras that he got. So she just ripped this face thing and got out of there. But a lot of people don't know, or you may or may not know, that actually Zoe Kravitz voiced the Catwoman in the 2017 animated Lego Batman movie, which I thought was kind of cool. So it wasn't actually her first time playing Catwoman. It was her first time playing it like in live action, but like I thought that was kind of cool that they actually cast her in this role for her to do it like full out, which made sense because she's been a superhero in an X-Men before too. So Zoe Kravitz is dope. She kills it every fucking time she hits the screen. So
I think Zoe Kravitz is I don't even want to say she's underrated because I feel like people acknowledge how amazing she is, but I love that she's on the rise and I love that she's getting her flowers because
she's getting her just did.
Yes. I love me some Zoe Kravitz. I'm like, yes, girl, yes.
So she show up and deliver. It's not like she's one of those celebrity kids that shows up and no, she delivers that shit every the fuck time. She goes in, you know, and much the way like Zendaya, they're very similar to me. Like they could play the. I'm sure they go out for the same roles, but they're both different, but both the same. But they bring the same caliber of versatility and rawness that I think a lot of these roles and shit, you know, it's enough roles for everybody to go around. So, you know, love them. Love what they both brought to these, you know, two movies, that and even Superman with, Spider-Man with what she did. This is a nod, you know, to Zendaya.
I also love that Zoe Kravitz is like, she's a little short thing, which also I was looking at Robert Pattinson. I'm like, how tall is he? Zoe Kravitz is about my height. Okay, so I'm short. I'm 5'1". I believe she's like 5'1", 5'2". So looking at Robert Pattinson, I was like, oh, he might be a little bit taller because I can tell by height, like where she falls on his body, how tall he is. So I was like, oh, okay, because I always thought he was short for some reason, but I'm like, oh, he is a little tall. So.
And if y'all don't know, Shamira love our little tall thing. She love our little. Me too. Like, don't get it twisted. Like,
listen, what I've recently come to learn about myself as well is that I have a thing for actors as superheroes, because there's been so many actors where I'm like, I'm not attracted to him, I have no desire, I don't think he's cute, and then they play a superhero and I'm like, damn, I never noticed before.
So Shamira wants to get busy. She's like, she want to get busy with a superhero. So any superheroes out there watching, slide in her DMs. Girl, it's gonna be some superheroes that say like, "Hello, I'm a superhero. I'm here to be superhero."
Vengeance for that pussy. No.
Hey, yo. Girl, I'm dying. Okay, so all right, we got some more trivia. What you got?
Yeah, so okay, so another one of my favorite trivia facts. This is more a comic book related fact, but it is Batman. So, you know, we've got some awesome characters in the Batman universe who are Black characters. We've had several Black Catwomen. Lucius Fox is Black, but we have yet to have a Black Batman, except as of last year in the comic books, Bruce Wayne died. And Lucius Fox's son took over the role of Batman. So now we have a Black Batman. And he basically becomes Batman, not just to protect the innocent, but to stop people from becoming villains. Because this character apparently had some choices to make, and he kind of fell in with the wrong crowd, and he was on his way to becoming a villain. And then was able to kind of come full circle, come back around. So he's like, I want to make sure this never happens to anybody else again. And I think that's really interesting because the idea of a Black man under that mask, like take a minute to like, because of the experiences of Black men in America. Imagine that you've got a masked vigilante who is out there trying to do his best, trying to work with the police. But he's a Black man. And I feel like that would level so much more. That's going to bring so much more depth to that character. Not to say that Bruce Wayne doesn't have it, but it's going to bring a different kind of depth. Because now it's not just about his own experiences, but it's also about how society sees him. And that's going to affect the way people interact with him, the way they allow him to help and interact in police investigations. It's going to change the whole Batman dynamic. So that's something I'm really interested in. And I haven't read any of the comics yet, but I definitely want to, yeah.
That's dope. Definitely comment below if you read, if you read any of them or what you think about that.
If y'all have any suggestions for specific comics with this character that I should read, let me know. Please do.
Yeah, here's a fun one that I didn't know that I think is so cool. So in 2008, 2009-ish, Eddie Murphy, it was this huge rumor going around, and he was supposed to play the Riddler in Chris Nolan's 2009 The Dark Knight Rises, along with Shia LaBeouf playing Robin. Now, they said that the rumor got so out of control that like it wasn't true, but like Eddie Murphy like had to come on the Tonight Show to actually, with Conan O'Brien, and actually address like that he wasn't gonna be like, no, I'm not playing this role. But like it was like people want, please, I would have been Eddie Murphy.
Yeah,
the Riddler. Are you?
I remember that rumor. I remember it was like. I remember hearing it because and I remember like when I heard it, it wasn't presented as a rumor. It was like Eddie Murphy will be the Riddler in the next Batman, and it was like everywhere. And then he was like, "No, I'm not." Like,
yeah, like nah. Actually, no, that would be dope, but nah, like nah. But I thought that was dope though. I definitely thought that was a dope fact. I did.
Yeah, cool. That's a good one. So in addition to a Black Batman, we also have a Black Batwoman. So in 2020, Javicia Leslie made TV and film history when she became the first Black live action Batwoman. And on the CW's Batwoman. So she is the lead on the show. When Ruby Rose stepped down, they brought in Javicia Leslie. And I've watched it and I love her portrayal. I love it. First of all, so the thing with Batwoman, if y'all are not familiar, is that in her costume, her hair is out, and it's usually like long flowing red hair, right? And that's how you know it's Batwoman and not Batman. Mm-hmm. But what I love about her particular Batwoman is that she's got like a natural curl. It's like kinky afro hair, and it's red, and it's just flowing out of her suit. And it's like the first time I saw the photos, before I even heard that they had cast a Black woman, I saw the photos and I was like, why does it look like she got a fro? I was like, wait a minute. I was like, what's going on? They changed the bat suit? Right. And so for me as like a nerd who grew up craving that representation, who wanted to see reflections of characters that looked like me, all I had growing up was Storm. It was like, all right, Storm. Yeah. Like, to see a Black Batwoman and the way they do it in the show, I think it's, in my opinion, it's pretty well done because they use her experiences as a Black woman to influence the way that the character is when she's Batwoman, the experiences that she has with people not taking her seriously, people a lot of what we experience as Black women, she's experiencing as a Black woman, but in a bat suit, like as a hero trying to do some good. She's still coming up against the same shit, and she's just like, the fuck. So I enjoy that. I enjoy that they are incorporating that into the portrayal of Batwoman as well. I love it.
Yeah, I agree. And one last fact for y'all, Black artist trivia for the Black Man universe. Actor Nick Cregan is cast as a first Black Joker in season 3 of the CW's Batman, to piggyback off of what I was just saying. And he has remarked on how excited he is to play the Joker. He even dressed up as Jared Leto's character for Halloween. So, he's all about it. I think he dressed up as him as 2016. So, he's super excited. His portrayal on the Batman, he says he borrowed elements from the Joker that came before while adding brand new elements to make the new Joker entirely his own. So that's so dope. So I'm excited to see like what this Black Joker brings to the table. And we busting down walls. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah. I feel like it's so important. And I don't necessarily agree with just making a character Black. They'll just make them Black. But I do love that we're getting opportunities to bring our own interpretation to these characters. You know what I'm saying? Right. So I'm here for it. I'm here for it all. And listen, if something's classic and it's great, keep it. But let's be open to now, we get these opportunities, we step up to the plate. We get opportunity. We gonna show up and show out. So I mean, it's one of the ones. So yeah. I'm excited. For the future of it's breathed, I believe, with this movie and then even with the TV show. And I've heard rumors that like this particular universe of the Batman is going to spin off into TV shows in addition to movies. So I feel like this movie has breathed new life into this franchise. And I think it's going to spark more interest even over to the CW projects and everything. So it's a win-win for everybody. And I think it's just super, super dope.
I agree. And I like love the way in which they're handling Batwoman on the CW, because a lot the primary characters in that cast are people of color. So you've got like Black Batwoman, you've got one of the what is it called? She's one of the people that work in like, she was like one of the police officers, but she's like, yeah, so you got her, she's also a Black woman, then you got Lucius Fox's son, and now you're gonna have a Black Joker. So it's just, I'm very interested. For me, it's very important when productions take on or rather cast Black actors in these roles. It's very important to see our experiences incorporated into the portrayal of the character. Like you can't just have Black Batwoman out there just, you know, being Batwoman and not encountering any kind of racial bias, because that's not the reality. The reality that she is going to face is that she is going to encounter racial bias while trying to clean up the city. Like that's just the fucking reality. You know?
It just is going to happen. People are going to, and I feel like, you know, they're showing the CW. I hope that they take that risk, because I mean, they did, you know, being that, I believe the that woman, you know, her having, you know, her being queer, and they incorporated that into the storyline, you know what I mean? So it just makes sense that they're willing to go there and explore this with this experience that this Black woman is as well. And so I'm here for it all. Like, we're going to talk about it. Let's talk about it all. That's how I feel. So I'm excited. Yes, I'm hyped. The Batman got me hyped. So definitely make sure y'all like, follow, subscribe. Thank y'all so much for tuning in. Comment below. Let us know what you think. You can follow us on all social platforms as Black Girls Watch, BLK Girls Watch, on Twitter and TikTok and Instagram. And also here on, of course.
Yeah, and let us know what you think of the format. Like, we tend to do longer videos because we have such when we have a lot to say about the content. If that works for y'all, let us know and we'll keep this format, because for us, the purpose of this is not just to do a review or not just to do a reaction video, but we want to bring, as we were saying, our experiences into it and digest this pop culture in the way that we do as Black women. You know, that's so right. Let us know if this, you know, if the format is working for y'all, because, you know, sometimes we go off on tangents because we are friends, and this is how, you know, this is how it is. If you got female friends, you know, this is how it is. We gonna talk.
That's how we do. That's how, this literally, this TV, this show, this YouTube channel is literally just, if there was a fly on the wall when me and Shamira deep dive into these TV shows and movies, like that's all this is. So we are excited to bring y'all into conversations that we have regardless, and kind of like opening up that dialogue for you guys to let us know what you think, and us share how we feel in our own relationship with each other, with you guys. So like, that's what the channel is. But definitely let us know what you want us to review next. Like, you know, get active, let us know. And definitely comment below on what you thought of the movie, what you thought could have been better, what your favorite parts were.
Yes, please, we want to know you're out there. Comment, give us a thumbs up, give us a heart, you know, give us some flowers,
give us some roses. Drop your roses below. How many roses do y'all give it? We gave it a dozen, right? How many do y'all give it?
How many roses would you give it? Remember, we give 2 in each category. You can get 2 in acting, 2 in writing, or 2 in directing. How many roses would you give it? Tell us.
Let us know.
Comment below.
This has been Black Girls Watch.